Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the second episode of Advanced Kayak Angler. I appreciate you listening. If you would, follow the show and tell everybody else. Sure would appreciate it. This week, I went a little about what I did. I went fishing last weekend. Did good. Caught one was this weekend, yesterday. Caught one good one. Caught a few other ones. Had fun out with my buddy Chad on a little local lake. Just bought a couple of rods. Yeah, that's everything going on with me. But tonight, I really wanted to talk about the KFL. And I'll say why. Because obviously, I got a KFL trophy behind me. I really enjoy the KFL. I fished it the last 2 years. This year, I'm not, just because limited vacation time and a kid. I just can't fish everything I wanted to. So I wanted to fish some other stuff. But I 100% plan to fish it in the future. But it's like you're in the KFL world or you're not. And it seems like a few people really have a problem with it for some reason. I don't get it. And then, it's like not it's so much fun. And I've had so much fun the last couple of years fishing it. It isn't getting its due. So my point was to have Greg on and just kind of talk about it and just kind of highlight what's going on with them, with the KFL and everything else going on this season. So if you don't know anything about it, sit back. We'll try to go over the basics of where it started, and then we'll talk more about the season, new things that are going on, and hopefully at the end of it, you either get some misconceptions or kind of, there's some storylines or that people are talking about out there that just are nonsensical, like people that just don't understand what's going on with the KFL. So I just want to clear up a little bit of that because there's not much, but yeah, just kind of want to talk KFL because it's awesome. So there you go. So here he is, the commissioner, team Warhawk player, and the founder of the Kayak Fishing League, Greg Nosar. How you doing, man?
Yo, what is up, Mr. Dan Perry? So I
Man.
see KFL champion and MVP Dan Perry.
Yeah, there. Well, just goes to why I enjoy it so much. We had
Stellar season, stellar
we
man for you
had a
guys.
great season. Also, I haven't put the names on there yet. I need to.
Yeah,
I want to clean it up. Like I have to go buy some Gooby going to.
Oh, it should have
maulers.
it should have a tape back there.
Oh, it does, but I wanted to clean it up.
Oh yeah, well you got to blame the maulers for that, man.
Yeah, well,
you have to hand over that trophy after this year, man.
Yeah, we're actually we're looking at. I'm bringing it to Coley, and he's going to have some made.
Yeah,
and we're all going so everybody has their own. But and maybe one day somebody is going to have to be like the first person to have like a big bass trophy, big 8 Hobie trophy, and a big KFL trophy. So
yeah,
and KBF.
Well, I mean that's the quadruple, right?
Yeah, I don't think all 4 the quad trophies. I don't think anybody has that. So
no, I don't think so.
Derek hadn't won a Hobie, and he hadn't won a bass. Just not just, but he's won KBF and KFL. So.
He has, he hadn't won a Hobie or a bass, right? So
yeah,
yep.
There we go. So, man, let's start with who you are and why the hell you put yourself into starting such a thing that is I can't even imagine just being an owner for a season, how many texts and how much work goes into it. But let's just start of who you are, like personally, and why you did this and how it came about.
Well, I mean, look, man, growing up back in the 80s, man, all we did was sports, right? We didn't have anything else, If we didn't have a ball or stick, we found something, sports has been a big part of my life. I mean, always, since since T-ball all the way up through high school, man, played baseball, played basketball, played golf. I mean, played tennis, played football. I mean, whatever. I mean, we did everything, and everything we did was basically team oriented. Well, and then I, got into kayak fishing back in like 2012, competitive kayak fishing shortly thereafter. And it was all individual. It's no different. I come from the golf world. It was all individual events there. But the greatest golf event ever is the Ryder Cup, right? If you've ever seen the Ryder Cup, it's amazing. It's a team-oriented thing in an individual sport. That's something we never really truly had. I mean, it was kind of like an exhibition, for different things. Like you would see teams at the KBF National Championship and stuff like that, but not really a league associated with teams. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, I just follow the NFL. It's been my passion. I'm a big Chicago Bear fan, and I kind of had this idea, like, why can't we take these anglers from these specific areas, and they represent their specific areas by having a team, and then they can develop a fan base, and they can develop friends and family, kind of support them, and basically make a franchise model out of it, just like the NFL is, right? So
Yeah.
the backbone of the KFL is how the NFL works, and there's corporate sponsors, there's team sponsors, and there's individual, fans, and these anglers are going to be on TV, or they're going to be broadcasted, not so much TV but digital, right?
Yeah.
And just kind of take this to a next level. And there's nothing short of content in the KFL, man. I mean,
Yeah.
we all wanted content. There's nothing short of content, because each team has a story, each individual angler has a story, and it's a unique way to promote what we do, right? And to be honest with you, man, if you go on the street and you tell somebody, hey man, I kayak fish, or if you go to a sponsor and I kayak fish, they're like, oh, okay, that's great, But if you tell a team, or if you tell somebody, hey, I'm on this team, and you show them the logo and stuff like that, they could acclimate that to usually like sports, like hockey or football or whatever. They get it. And if you talk to a sponsor, we're finding out teams have a little bit more easier time getting sponsorships because of the team atmosphere. I don't know why sponsors really understand all that, but they do better than just
Yeah.
an individual, right? So yeah, I mean, look, man, it's been interesting. That's my background. I love creating things from nothing, but also taking a passion project, something I love to do, and man, just be a part of it. It's awesome.
And you're married and have a couple of kids. I can't imagine how you have enough time to do all this,
I
man.
don't, man. And that's the thing. Like, you
And
can't do this.
you're a successful businessman too. I mean, it's
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I don't. I mean, it's you got to rely on other people to do it, right?
Yeah.
And that's like, Dan, you were one of the first people I've called with the idea, like a couple of years ago. I was like, hey, man, what do you think about this?
I thought it was
Um,
great from the rip, man. I thought it was a great idea.
yeah. I mean, and you kind of just put the ideas together, and then you kind of feel it out, talk it out, and see if it works out. And again, I called Sam Jones and a couple other people, and said, what do you guys think, man? I think, wouldn't it be cool? And yeah, man, that's how it was birthed. I mean, and as I said, I mean, I don't do this alone. I've got so many people behind the
Yeah.
scenes, and again, it's a matter of getting everybody together and coming up with this ultimate goal, right? And that's to further this sport. It's all we're trying to do is further the sport, get more eyes on what we do. I mean, um, it's been a challenge. I ain't gonna lie. I mean, we're only in year. Well, this is the third year,
Yeah.
but that's what we did. I mean, look, the NFL still. I mean, you saw what just happened with Damar
The
Hamlin,
Bills,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the whole situation that they had to go through about canceling the game mid-game, having a coin flip situation, completely going against the rule book of what was written down, because it was situations that they never really even thought would happen, right? I mean, you have to make decisions on the fly sometimes. That's the for the betterment of the league in unusual situations. This is the NFL. They've been doing this for many, many years. We're in year 3. You know what I mean? We're not going to get everything right 100% of the time, and
Yeah.
we just got to learn from our mistakes, and improve. Always strive to improve, and that's with any business. I mean, you're not going to get it right 100% the first time around. The second time around, it's just you got to chalk it up to something as a learning experience and move on.
So I mean, nothing in the second year is going to run 100% perfect. What are some things that have went from last year? Can you kind of walk through some things that have changed from year 1 to year 2 and year 2 going into year 3? Like, what are some of the things you don't mind sharing, that lessons learned of things that you've had to overcome that even people don't see, maybe they haven't seen all the work that's went into it, like I have, of some things that you've, I mean, to start a league from scratch, to have an app, to have, because you want to have a place people can go with the Motion Sports Network to have, to guarantee people are going to be able to watch it. You started fantasy fishing. You did, I mean, a complete build out of a complete league. It's incredible what you've done. Yeah, I just don't think enough people understand everything you and your team have put into it. But what are some of the hurdles and some of the things, lessons learned, or the hard things that you've went through?
Well, like you said, I mean, you got to understand. I mean, this is a nationwide like chess
Yeah,
game, right? I mean, the first year we put 17 teams together, logistically putting all the teams in an area, having two conferences, trying to, and putting that. We started out with two conferences, 17 teams, and then develop a schedule. You don't, people don't understand how hard it is
yeah.
to take 17 teams that odd them out, figuring out bye weeks, putting schedules together, and logistically all trying to make this sense, and then have playoffs, and then come together with a championship. You're doing this all in basically, you know, I mean, a couple months, right? And then getting teams, having set expectations of we need logos, we need businesses set up, we need, and teaching these guys how to do basic knowledge of how to run a business, how to run an LLC, how to, or if it's a nonprofit, then you do that. I mean, there's a lot behind the
Which I
scenes
sucked
business.
at.
And
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes just going fishing. And then getting everybody on board with, I mean, honestly, it's like pulling teeth trying to get these guys on camera. I mean, figuring
Yeah.
out how to rig their kayaks just to get content out of it. I mean, that's a whole ordeal in itself. And then you have the broadcasting end of it, right? And being able to take personalities and pull content away from the, during the broadcast and fill a couple hours of fishing. That's a whole production in itself. And then, we developed in year two, we went from 17 teams to 28 teams. And then, unfortunately, we had, uneven divisions and trying to figure out scheduling and how those divisions are going to shake out. What happens if this happens, then, if we have an odd amount of divisional wins, what do you do there? And how do you explain it to, somebody who's out and, all that stuff, man. And you gotta coordinate. You got to kind of foresee things in the future that might be a problem. And I mean, you can't like, basically foresee everything, but you can kind of see that, well, this is going to be a headache. I know this is going to be a headache. So we need to have an answer prepared of how we're going to handle the situation. I think our biggest problem, to be honest with you, man, is going from 17 teams to 28 teams and not a full 32 was the big problem. I think
Mhm.
you either got to go, you either have to have 24 or 32. You can't have an uneven amount. Right.
Yeah.
And then the biggest issue is dealing with 28 personalities, right? 28
And
owners,
really
28.
times 10, because with social media, it could be one person on one team who is a loudmouth who goes on social media nonstop of
Yeah.
something he doesn't like. So it's, I mean, it's,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, another thing too, I mean, honestly, look, you know, it's another, here's the thing too. It's a very different time. And I'm kind of old school, I'm old fashioned, right? I believe in, look, man, there's consequences to doing things. I mean, there is. A lot of these guys just, they just do whatever the hell they want to, and act like, hey man, I'm the king of the hill. I don't care what happens. You know what I mean? And I'm going to blast all over social media because I did nothing wrong type deal. And that's bullcrap. We there's blatant evidence of what happened in many different occasions, not only just this league, but many other leagues.
yeah.
And a lot of these guys get off scot free, and and it's just crazy. Look, man, you break a rule or you break you do something that's unsportsmanlike, there's consequences to it, right? And dealing with that's what sucks. Is like, the whole thing is to have fun and fish and enjoy the team and enjoy the camaraderie and everything after that. Like you said, there's a couple bad apples that that's in every sport, every league, and it is what it is. I mean, you just have to deal with it, right? And hold true to your guns, man, because if you don't have, if you you can't let the quote unquote the inmates run the asylum. You know what I mean? You got to be able to have structure. You got to be able to have rules. You got to be able to have a disciplinary committee and everything else. And if you don't like the way we're doing it, then you don't need to fish it. You know what I mean? That's just the way it works. But we want to protect those who do like it, those who do have fun and want to be a part of it. And you can't let a couple bad apples just ruin the bunch, man. But all in all, I think what we learned from year 2 is this. Having, obviously, we went back down to 24. It's manageable, right? You get even number of conferences, even number of divisions, even number of teams with 10 players.
Yeah.
And we're allowing a lot more power to the teams to be able to handle and control their own content. It used to be the KFL drove that content. We're doing the opposite this year. It's going to be the teams are going to drive the content. We're going to support them, right? We're going to give them the tools to be able to provide what they need to do in short form content. Dan, I'm going to tell you straight up, we switched everything out this year. Long form content, I think, is dying, right? You can't be on YouTube for 6 hours. No one's going to watch it, right?
And all the work that goes into it of all your announcers being on there for so long.
Yeah, you can't.
Yeah.
It's the age of TikTok, Google, YouTube Shorts, and Reels. People just want to see 10-second, 12-second clips, man, and move on, you know?
Yeah.
They just do. And we've asked the teams kind of think that way, right? Get your GoPro ready, you know? If you're going to be on air, you know, we can cut up and edit all the highlights that happens on air between 11 and 1, but everything else while you're fishing, get that GoPro ready, man. You slam that hog and you boat flip that freaking 20-incher into the boat. We want to see it. You know what I mean? Put those cuts together, put those highlights together, let us see it, and then we'll run it, you know, and then we'll promote it, and then you promote it, and then we'll share it. You know what I mean? But the teams are going to have complete content control over themselves. And the reason why we're going to do that is this. It is better to have 24 teams all on the same page controlling content, putting KFL content out, than KFL being one entity putting out 24 teams contents. Does that make sense?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that's what we're trying. That's what we're going to do. It's divide and conquer type ordeal. And then here's another thing too. What our goal this year, and we've told our owners, we've had meetings, and we're serious from the get-go. We're going to make it simple and make it fun. Those are the two things we want to do this year. Make it simple and make it fun. That's it. We're going to get back to basics. Get back to the roots of what we do, and that's fish. Right? We want to make this absolutely the funnest league or the style of fishing that you've ever had. And we can't listen to the noise. We're not going to go back to the noise. We're not going to go back to all the other stuff that happened. We don't care. It is what it is. We've dealt with it, and we're moving on. You know, that's just what we're going to do. And we just can't get bogged down with the stuff that happened prior.
One of the questions I have, like, I talked to somebody who was thinking about joining a team. Can you kind of just, so people who don't know, first, I guess, say how the teams are organized and how many players, starters versus non-starters, thing, just for people that don't know anything about it. Can you kind of explain all that real quick?
Yeah, I mean, it's you know, you want a team that's going to be competitive, right? And you know, you want teams that are going to get local anglers that, I mean, are good. I mean, that are, you know, that are good fishermen. I mean, not only from local trails or, you know, national trails and things like that. Man, our team is full right now. The Warhawks is full of teammates now that have absolutely killed it locally, and we're excited to see what they can do, you know, nationally. So yeah, we've revamped, and you know, people have. I mean, we had a tryout. You know, there's
Really?
two guys that were going against each other for the last roster spot. We had a little fish off, and it was cool, man. I mean, it was awesome, and yeah, and then, you know, I mean, again, you get these guys in the chat together, and you know, they're talking, you know, everything from fishing to cooking to, you know, Christmas and everything else that's going on in their lives, and you come like a bond.
Videos, well, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, whatever, man. I mean, it's a blast, and then you figure out the logistics of what you're doing and working on sponsors, and you know, kind of created. It's kind of like a club, man. I mean, it really is. It's you know, there's a performance aspect of it. You can't be a slouch and not be able to fish, but at the same time, you bring your talents to the team, and you think you can help them. I mean, look them up. See what be a part of it. It's absolutely a fun freaking adventure, man.
But for the people that don't know, it's there's this year there's going to be 8 games, 4 home, 4 away, plus a playoffs and championship. There's 10 people per team. It went up from 8 to 10 last year. Last year is 8. This year it's 10. You have 4 starters every week, and then another 6 people that aren't playing that week. So you always have enough people if somebody gets hurt, whatever it is. You can make substitutions on your team up to a certain date, but after that, there's a cutoff. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what are some of that? Because one question I did have from somebody was, well, he was thinking about joining a team. This is a national guy, somebody well known. And he said, well, I'm thinking about doing it. I really don't know much about the KFL, but this owner, I'm not sure about that. What are some of the best practices of an owner or owner group? I guess I don't know. Some teams have 2 or more, or whatever. Some people have owners that play. Some people have owners that don't. Like
Mm-hmm.
what makes a good owner? What makes a good team? You understand what I'm saying?
You have to have somebody that's organized, man. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the big thing is, when you take on this venture, I mean, like, you know, the teams are just a mini KFL league. I mean, they really are. It's just, you have to learn how to be a businessman. You have to learn the backside of things and be able to, um, be not afraid to take a no answer. I mean, that's the thing is, like, people don't try because they're afraid of the word no. I mean, you just keep going. It's not no, it's just not yet. I mean, you got to take that no into not just not yet, right? Continue to press on. I mean, and you have to have somebody who has a vision of brand awareness and brand um, marketing, right? You are building a brand. You are that team, right? You individually, your teammates are that team, and you have a collective goal to promote your brand, as much as possible in a positive manner, right? And then obviously, like, Will does a great job, and Jim Johnson are 2 owners of the Warhawks. I keep on going back to them because I mean, that's what I'm a part of, is their
Yeah.
team. But one thing they do is, I mean, they're very community oriented, man. They want to be involved in the community that we're around. We want to, like, we're all going down to the Richmond fishing show together, all 10 of us, here in, like, next week, right? We all going to get together with our our uniforms
I,
on.
I, I saw the Florida team, the Swamp Dog, is they just did that this weekend too.
Yeah, I mean,
Like
just
9
team
out of
building like
10
that.
just went fishing.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And so we want to, go out there and be out in the community and do some things, for the community. And again, I mean, just be a part of something that's, brand recognition building. That's what you want to do. Not only that, you have to have an idea of what finances are. I mean, you
Yeah.
have to go out and take money in and pay money out. And then I think a good owner utilizes his team. And I tell owners this all the time, man, there's no way you as an owner individually can go out and get all the sponsorships for your team. Everybody has to contribute, right? They want
Yeah.
to fish, they have to contribute. And they think they have to hit a home run too with sponsorships, man. They think they have to go out there and get, let's say, a $10,000 sponsor. And then when they don't get it, they get defeated. The problem is, especially now, a lot of companies aren't going to just cut you a $10,000 check to go to go fish, man.
Yeah, I took in 2,500 last year, and that's how much money it paid for the $1,500 entry fee. We had $1,000 left. We paid $200 per, or 250 per house or I think we did 200 per house. That every
Mhm.
house that we had, and helped pay for expenses. But yeah,
Yeah, I mean, look, going out and getting $500 sponsors is just as good as getting one $2,500 sponsor. You know what I mean? You have to
yeah.
kind of think of it, break it down, and be creative on how you want to go out and have these sponsors feel like they're part of a team. So yeah, I mean, that's it, man. You have to, again, there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes, logistics. Who are you going to start? Where and
That's so. As an owner, that's tough, man. Oh yeah,
yeah,
you're going fish this week, or you're not, or whatever. That was a good thing for us that we had a lot of people that fish nationally,
yeah.
where there wasn't like everybody couldn't fish every week, so there wasn't a bunch of like infighting over I
Yeah,
want to fish. It was a lot of it was just availability and trying to make that work.
that's it, man. I mean, it's getting everybody on board, and here's another thing too, making just tough decisions. If a guy's not doing well, Dan, I mean, and let's say he's fished, two or three games, just not pulling his load, man. You got to make that tough decision. Sit him.
Ooh,
I don't care what his name is.
yeah.
And I'm gonna be honest with you. There's some guys out there that are great fishermen. I mean, awesome fishermen in terms of like individuals, but when it comes to a team, they just don't perform.
It's damn tough from year to year. Because we went from the Hammers and started our own team. That we're leaving your team, we're going to start a team, or if you're an owner, well, you kind of suck last year, so you're not going to make the team this next year. I mean, there's some, I'm sure some tough talks that went on from last year to this year.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, no doubt.
That's tough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's that's part of it, man. Because I mean, you're always trying to be. Look, this year is probably the most competitive year I've seen it. I mean, the schedule came out, and we just got done doing the toughest schedule rankings, but the math was basically this: there's a formula that we use, and the only differentiation between the 24 teams was 5.5 points. I mean, that's how close and how competitive this and this is all based on stats, right? This is like an stat analytical data formula that we did to come up with these schedule rankings and preseason rankings. But when you have 24 teams, they're only basically 5 points away from each other in terms of like strength of schedule data points, man. That's tight. I mean, that means anybody can win. Anybody.
And here I'll bring up the we'll go over some teams here if you don't mind.
Yeah.
We'll start with the KFL South. Let me bring it up on here. Present. Share screen. All right. We'll start here with the Arkansas Hogs. You can see that, right?
Yeah.
All right. We've got and we won't talk too much about this, but there's a lot of people. 24 teams. Cody Milton, Garrett Morgan, Brandon Prince, Chris Hartman, Chris Wright, Corey Hopper, Gordon Parham, Cole Harkin, Terrell Standifer, and Keith Zimmerman. And I apologize if I mispronounce your name. I'm from Mississippi. Take it easy on me here. That team's obviously got two of the best anglers in the country. Norfolk, Robert Brown, he sucks. David Miller, Ray Montes, Travis Belcher, Wyatt Novak, Nathan Green, Monday Hackett, and Craig Basher's great team. They did well last year, right?
Well, I mean, they came out of the chute really struggling, and then they won. I think they're like the last 4 games, almost made the playoffs.
Back. Yeah. And that was only because Robert was in a submarine, and they finally were able to drop some dead weight there. Slayers, really great team last year. I mean, it could have went either way with the Kingfishers and them. I mean, it was, a lot of it just came down like if we would have lost one game, the season would have been different. I can't go over all these names, but Josh Deal, he's a great one. They added Joe Camiotti, Brad Exum's on there, but I mean, obviously, just a lot of great names. Tennessee Shiners, good God help everybody!
Look
but
at
last
that
year,
one, man.
It was the same way last year, though. The Shiners,
It was. I mean, and we're talking about what makes a good team. I mean, look, these guys good individually. They just didn't do well as a team.
I know they're. Because some people were on the Kingfishers last year, I know what their home waters are going to be. So I think they have a really good game plan going into the season. But Jordan Marshall, Corey Dreyer, Coley McGowan, Eric Siddiqui, Josh Stewart, Eric Thomason, which him and Jordan they're running buddies. Nick Dyer, also a Kingfisher. So everybody in the Kingfishers except for 3 ended up on a team this year. Me, Chuck, and Lance. Lance doing family stuff. I think I know I can't because I wanted to do some other stuff this year. For years, I've been going out and fishing national stuff, and I'm finally going to try to win a local angler of the year. Like I want to prove it to myself that I can do it.
Yeah.
Jason Starley, Jake Suvak, they went and got a Florida guy, which I thought was Jason Starley too, right?
Yes, he's out of Georgia, but he was on the Florida Copperheads. But that's smart because
Yeah.
they have a game down at the Headwaters
Yeah.
in Florida that they have to worry about. So this team was put together
Thinking
very
ahead,
well.
yeah, I think so too. And Ethan Jett, he won a Hobie not too long ago. Palmetto Punishers, obviously they were a great team last year. Barry Davis runs that. Yeah, they did lose. What's his name?
Frank Wolf.
Well, yeah, but they all.
Oh, Jason Broach.
Yeah, Jason Broach. That guy, he's a marine fisheries biologist. He's like a fish whisperer.
Yeah.
Like Lance was. Great team. They did great last year. That we were obviously right neck and neck with them. Virginia Reapers, great team. Tar Heel Lunkers, they whooped us last year. Obviously a great team. I think they're going to do better. Sure, it seems like at the end of the year they were really feeling good going into this season.
Yeah, I was talking to Dave Hart, man. I mean, you know, they obviously struggled last year, but like he said, man, they were a fish or two away from every game. So it's not like they got blown out. They just didn't need to clean up some things on their side, which I think they have. And yeah, I mean, they're going to be a team that's going to compete. They were a playoff team in 2020, so 2021. So they're going to be okay. They're going to do fine.
Yep. Oklahoma Outlaws still got Cayman Rasmussen, the dude with the best name in kayak fishing, but they'll be strong. Florida Hooligans, that's a whole new team down in Florida, but obviously some great names. We've got Natural State. They came in at the end last year, took over for the team to not be named. Like great anglers there. Southwest Hurricanes, Bragg Case. So it's Louisiana Hurricanes. They kind of changed it up to go Southwest, same logo, although it does look a little bit better that way.
Yep, it's a little different.
Yep, good anglers on that team as well. I thought they had somebody else on that team too.
They just added Caleb Johnson. There he is. Okay, Kalen Johnson's on there. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Kalen just did a video with Brian Latimer on Latimer's. Video. I love
where they were fishing cypress trees.
Yeah, that's Kalen Johnson.
Okay. Yeah, I saw that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sunshine State Swamp Donkeys. It's got to be the team to beat out of Florida right now, minus Benetti. I mean, Sherman Bishop, Russ Kennedy, Bob Brisky. Just the whole roster is filled with great names. And we talked about Arkansas.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be stout, man. I mean, these. I honestly,
how can you pick? How can you possibly pick from any of those teams?
That's what I'm saying. I mean, the competitiveness in this league this year is just going to be unbelievable. And I told our team, I said, guys, and all kidding aside, we get to fish. I mean, listen to our lakes that we get to fish. We get to fish the Potomac River, Cayuga, the Susky, Winnipesaukee, and Candlewood. That's our schedule.
That's fine.
You know what I mean? That's ridiculous. And then the teams that we have to play is unbelievable. With Pennsylvania, the New York team, the Syracuse Swarm, and then you have the Connecticut Renegades. I think has vastly improved their team this year, and then us. I mean, and then we got to play at Granite State. Man, it's just gonna be tough, man. And then we have Maine come to us, and they've improved their team dramatically too. So yeah, man, it's gonna be fun.
Yeah. And a lot of the northern. I mean, you talk about these on the stream all the time, but Motor City, they were right there last year. They somehow. Mass went in there and beat them. I don't know how that happened, but
that was unbelievable, man.
Yeah, but I mean, great on them. But Motor City, great team all year. My boy Matt, Indianapolis, they've got a shake up on their team. They have some new people, but it seems like like y'all with Washington, they have a great system of bringing in new talent with
I'll
the
tell you what, though, these guys that they brought in,
yeah, they're legit.
yeah, they are legit.
Yeah. Uh, and Rhode Island Rebels, great team. They had a really good season last year. The Maniacs, that I don't know, that logo scares me though. Um, but great team. It's just every team's so full of talent. It's hard to like God bless you trying to say, rank these teams like you said they were so close trying to rank. I can't imagine how pissed off people got at you.
Yeah,
But
I mean, and that's what it is. Like, people would honestly, when we did these power rankings and stuff like that, and um, when people, just basically they took it personally, and I'm like, well, good. It's
yeah,
it's
it's a little fuel
it's
for the
content,
fire.
man. It's
Yeah,
content. Don't take it personally. Show us. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like I mean, look, all but one team is going to feel disrespected. It's the way it's going to work.
that's right.
You know, but and there's a fight all the way through the year, man. I mean, you don't have to prove anything to me, man. You have to prove something to the scoreboard. You have to prove something to the standings. That's where you got to prove it, right?
Yeah. And Granite State, Jake Anglos, he was the league MVP last year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm really surprised they were. I wonder what Ewing thinks now that Tennessee, because he was already on Grant State after Tennessee came together, but I heard there was money involved. So I know Tennessee's not paying people. So
But I'll,
yeah.
I'll tell you this, man. Ewing, said to me, man, he's excited because he loves Winnipesaukee. I mean, he's
Oh,
gonna be
yeah.
up there a couple times for national events and stuff, and yeah, he's gonna be doing well, man. I mean, he loves it, so he's not hurt by any means.
Cool. Pennsylvania Bronzebacks, obviously Nick Aldy, the Makowitz brothers. Yeah, great team. Your team, obviously, y'all were strong last year. Ended up losing in Arkansas, right?
Yep, yep,
But yeah,
brutal.
yeah, oh yeah, tough team to go against.
Yep.
Renegades, Ryan Nye, a lot of other, other anglers are great as well. Mass Maulers. I'll say all their names just because they've been so strong for the last 2 years, and fishing against them down at Chickamauga, they're obviously a bunch of great guys, and really enjoyed that. Matt Conant, Mike Marcone, Derek Brundle, Nate Chagon. Is that how you say it?
Chagnon.
Chagon? There you go.
Yeah, Chagnon. Yep.
Bruce Levy, Joe. I can't. Dadeo. Adeo.
Yeah,
Diadeo.
Diadio.
There you go. God.
Yep.
Oh.
I know I screw that one up all the time.
Yeah. Kenwood. I cannot say Massachusetts. Massachusetts.
Massachusetts. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't say that. But I'm, I got problems. Kenwood and John Ferreira. Alabama Patriots in the North Division. Really interesting team out of Alabama. Keith Lambert's running that. So we won't be seeing them on the live stream like we did.
No. Yeah. I mean, yeah, again, you're going to see some kind of a new way we're going to do things, man. We're excited about it. We're excited about it, man. We've got the boys right now putting some new graphics together for us for the broadcast. If you saw the championship broadcast,
Yeah.
that's how we're going to do it.
Really?
That's how we're going to do it. Yeah.
But their logo suspect. Besides that, Keith Lambert, Derek Taylor, Chris. Since our new team, Christopher Davis, Daniel Higgins, Alan Ballard, Joe McElroy from the Kingfishers, Adam Patrone, and Dustin Nichols also from the Kingfishers. I talked to him. I think he's going to get to fish 3 of the events this year. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, watch out for Dustin.
Yeah, man.
Not only do they have to go to the Southwest Hurricanes, where I'm sure he'll fish because that's closer to him. Which
Caddo.
Caddo. Well, see, that was a great plan to put Dustin on the team. Yeah, really strong team there. Midwest Mob, new team. Since they are new, I'll go over Michael Ramirez, Blake Power, Chris Rodriguez, Gerardo Garcia, Rodney Hicks. Seems like I know that name, Rodney Hicks. Rustam Salim, Chris Slicka. He's from one of the paddle and fin hosts. Manny Miranda, Michael Remus, and Natapong Saranzaga.
Did better than I would.
Srisanga. There you go. So Chicago guys, another suspect logo. Holler at Sam Jones, he'll hook you up. Syracuse Storm, that logo is awesome. New team as well. Justin Query, Jacob Turner, Jacob Stem. Too many Jacobs. I don't like that. Alan Query, and too many queries, too many Jacobs. They need to look at that roster.
That's our first match, man, against Syracuse at Cayuga, man. We're excited for
Ooh.
that.
Cal Livinghouse, Rich Biggie, he fished last year. Rob Braun, Ralph Way, Pete Van Dien, and Jose Vianet. I'll go with that.
Yeah, I'll go with that. Yeah.
Motor and back to Motor City. So there we go, man. I don't know. I just because I was thinking about. I was looking through some of the schedules, thinking like who's got a favorable schedule. Who do I think's going to do well? I really think Alabama's going to do well. I looked at their schedule a couple times and I thought I really think looking at it, I think they could get through the season with only 2 losses. Like they could get to the playoffs with only 2 losses, and they would be like they could be strong, but anybody could do that as well. So
Yeah, I mean, it's anybody's game here, man, because we have some new teams that we just don't know who they are. But I mean, those
yeah.
are the most dangerous, right?
Mm-hmm.
But again, that's going to be very interesting to see who can do what. And then again, it's one thing to do it during the regular season. You know about the playoff pressure, and when things, can go awry very, very quickly, and then one fish will determine if you're going to be going home or going to the championship. Man, it's just crazy. It's just crazy how it can happen.
If you've never fished the KFL, it is a different. Like if you're fishing like Seminole, the first time I went and fished Seminole for Hobie, dude, I was sleeping in a tent. It was colder than what it was supposed to be. After day 1, I sucked it up. I took it to the house and I went home. Like I'm not going to be out here camping again another night. I'm not fishing enough of events for points to matter. Personally, I should have stayed just mentally, and I don't leave events anymore. That I learned that lesson from that event. But in a team event, it's a completely different atmosphere where it's not a full 8-hour day. What? By how many hours are y'all doing this? Is
Well,
it
actually, it's going to be 8 hours.
8? Okay,
Yeah, this time around. Yeah,
I thought that was
we're,
changed.
we're
So
going. Yeah, we're going 6 to 2.
okay, so a little bit longer days now, but it's different whenever your team depends on you.
Oh
And
yeah,
yeah, it's a different feeling. It really it amps it up. It amps up the atmosphere and your strategy and how to catch fish. Like I know for us, a lot of teams they would be like. It seems like a lot of teams got beat because their fishing strategy was wrong. I mean, sometimes you can only catch the fish that you can catch. And to me, after fishing a couple years, I always figured going into an event, I figured 3 out of 4 people are going to be on them. One person's going to have a bad day and not really catch them. That's usually how it works in my mind. One person's going to suck, not because they suck, but they're going to have a bad day. 3 people have to catch them. If you're one of those 3 people, man, you have to be on it because your team depends on you. And the feeling whenever it doesn't happen, like whenever we went and we got beat by Tar Heel, I put up 3 of our fish, but
it's
you know
devastating.
that feeling of losing is so bad on a
It's
team because
devastating.
you really, and especially if it's the person who sucked that day, you feel so bad for them because they feel so bad.
Oh, I mean, like when I went up to New York, we fished Canisius. Now it was a lake that was awful. I mean, there was algae everywhere. But in practice, I was able to kind of find like a top water deep bite
Mm,
with smallmouths. I mean, they were exploding on it, right? And
yeah.
I just left them alone. Left them alone. I was for sure I was going to catch those freaking fish. They would not fire up to save my life, and I blanked during that freaking. I mean, look, I mean, one team caught 3, the other we caught 2 in that event. But I mean, I felt absolutely devastated. I was like, "What the heck just happened here?" And I
Yeah.
felt like I cost us that one. I felt like I cost us the first game at home on the Potomac River. I was fishing. I caught I don't know 8 fish that day against Motor City, but we got beat by an inch. And I mean, I missed 2 fish I know would have won it, on the chatterbait. And if I would have just freaking, executed, we would have won. And that would have turned our playoffs completely around. We would have been in Virginia Reaper's seat. We were hosting playoff games, and who knows where we could have gone, But I mean, it's that kind of stuff that just, I remember those things more so than the good times, it's devastating, man,
It really feels like it's crazy how the parity of the teams, like, and this isn't a pick on any teams, but there was like last year and the year before, I'm sure there was let's say like the bottom quarter who weren't, or bottom fifth of teams that weren't, like last year, they weren't very competitive, but then everybody else was like right there. Everybody was like 1 fish away, 2 fish away. Like we fished against the Slayers and it was like 99 inches to 98. And if that game would have swapped the other way to the Slayers, I think they would have. It would have been a different season. We wouldn't have had home field
Arkansas would
advantage.
have had home field advantage.
Yeah, and then we wouldn't. Us going to Arkansas. Arkansas only sent 3 to Virginia and beat and lost. But if we would have went to Arkansas, I mean, chances are we would have lost that because it was during the Hopi. I mean, it's just Dardanelle, tough event. I mean,
was tough.
you were there.
Yeah, that was tough. Yeah.
So the chances of beating those guys on Dardanelle, including Drew Gregory at the time, it was I
mean, look, Garrett Morgan was fishing for him. He led day 1 with 92 or 94 inches or something like that. He blew the field away, and then day 2, didn't do so well. But that's when Fred Urbanus' son actually wound up winning it. But I mean, it was tough.
So the season with 1 fish, the season could have changed, and you could have had different winner. It's crazy how close it is, but
how it all shakes out, man. Absolutely. But as I said, that's the fun part of it, man. The fishing stuff is the fun part of it. I mean, and then we had a situation. Now it resolved itself pretty good, man. But we had a situation in the playoffs. Obviously, how KFL went last year, but behind the scenes, we almost had an absolute ridiculous disaster. And this is kind of behind the scenes talk. I don't think I've ever told anybody this, but we had a situation to where we had a fish with Frank Matalivich that was caught with like 3 seconds or a second to go that beat Rhode Island, right? And this is crazy, but Chris Catucci, with 1 minute to go, catches a fish to take the lead over Pennsylvania. This is in the playoffs, right? And then Frank Matalivich uploaded and snapped the photo with like a second to go from lines out, or when you're not supposed to submit fish. And then if you look at the fish, his hand looked like his pinky was underneath the gills. Right? And I get a call from Rhode Island, when it's all said and, I mean, they're obviously, the adrenaline's just going crazy, and they're looking at the fish. And I'm sitting in the hotel room at Dardanelle trying to figure this out. This is on Sunday. And this is after day 1, I sucked so bad. I was like, I'm not going back out to Dardanelle. But I'm sitting there watching this all transpire, and there's this picture, and it looked clear that the fish, his finger was inside the gills. I sent that picture out to everybody I knew who was a judge, and it was 50-50, like down the middle. Like no one can make a real decision. But
you didn't have any other pictures of it?
Oh, I know, but yeah. Oh. So this is what happened. So anyway, I said, sent these pictures out, and he said he didn't have any more pictures. Right? He only took this 1 picture, and this fish, I mean, it was deemed that this gill, I mean, his finger was underneath the gill plate, and we would have to flip this match. And I'm calling Nick Audi, and I'm like, Nick, dude, this picture's not going to fly. And I'm like, you don't have any more pictures? And he's like, this is, I mean, just going crazy, just going off. Like, this is crazy. This is not the case. It's just how his fingers angled and how the cameras, all that stuff. So I get a hold of Ryan Matalivich, right? His son. And he's got live photo right? Frank took it with
Oh,
live
yeah, yeah.
photo. He held down the picture, which actually
Oh,
has the live shot. And I kid you not, man, you could see the fish breathing, like his gill plate going up. And that's when he took the picture. And then as he's releasing the picture, his gill plate goes down, and clearly his finger is not under the gill plate. So we're
wow.
able to take the snippet of that live photo of the picture of his hand, nowhere near the gill plate right there. So it was deemed. We snapshotted that. It had all the metadata on it, and then he submitted it in, and it satisfied everybody at Rhode Island and us. But I've never seen anything like that. I mean, it was crazy. It came down to thank God he took it
A
under live
live
photo,
photo,
man.
yeah.
Yeah, because that would have changed everything. Because Massachusetts would have gone to granted. It would have changed the whole playoff picture, right? And so it was nuts how that
I
all
didn't know that.
transpired.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yep.
So what's that like out of everything you've done with the KFL and KBPT, what's the toughest what's been the toughest part? Or the toughest thing or decision or
Oh, that bandit situation was by far the
oh,
toughest.
the bandits, yeah.
That was man, look, it was a terrible situation. We had to do what was right for the league,
Yeah.
and and we still take fire for it. It is what it is, but
Derek doesn't stop. He beats that horse every single day on anybody's social media. I'm sorry, Derek. We can disagree about it. I stand beside my decision because I'm one of the people who helped to make that decision. It is what it is. I honestly feel like yes, there wasn't a rule, but you never knew that a team was going to quit like that in the middle of the season. That I'm not trying to, man.
yeah,
I so don't even want to talk about this, but I truly feel like they forced you into a corner of having to make a decision, and you said even if you can send one person, do something. You have to you can't just lay down, be dead because it skews all the games and the point totals and everything else for every other team. You can't do that to this league.
you can't.
Yeah.
You can't, and you can't set precedents for that. And they said that they're going on and on about it's in the rule book. The thing was written for COVID. If the owner was in the meetings during the owner meetings, and we wrote that specific rule because of what happened with Alabama and Indianapolis,
Yeah.
and one of the teams contracted COVID, we had to put that rule into place because it was state law and federal law. You could not send people with COVID during that time. But that does not give you or a team the right to use a rule that was based on COVID policy to just throw in the towel.
Yeah.
You can't do it. You know what I
It's
mean?
yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things where
But like you said, I think that I don't know if the whole that whole aspect of it they understood about the domino effect, that how it could have literally thrown out 6 teams out of the playoffs.
yeah.
I mean, that's the whole thing, right? You like, I'm sorry, but
That's
here,
I think that's kind of another thing that people don't understand, that you, as the commissioner of the league, you have power over the decisions for the league, but you also you don't have that much power over the teams. Like you don't have power over how they decide what they do with their money or
no,
some of how many people they send or some of the and people say, well, this is the NFL. No, well, money flows from the NFL to the teams other
yeah,
than just at the end of the season. So that league in that situation has a lot more leverage over teams. You have I'm not trying to say whatever, but you don't have much leverage over the teams to make them act the way to get them back into the line the way the NFL does, which is it's a new league. You just don't. That's just how it works. I mean, there's nothing else you could do. But I
Yeah.
think that's kind of a misconception. Well, why didn't Greg or the league do this? What the hell can they do? Like,
Like, I
there's
heard,
nothing
like,
you
"Why
can
don't you fine
do.
them?" Like, how are we gonna collect?
Yeah,
Like, "I'm gonna slap a fine on you." Oh, yeah, I mean, you want that in nickels or you want that in pennies? That's the message I would get. You know what I'm saying? Like, stuff
yeah,
like that, you just can't do, right? I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, look, you know how hard it was. I mean, that wasn't just a decision that I had to make.
yeah,
It was bounced off unanimously
yeah.
with league
Don't
representation.
make us do this.
Yeah,
Don't make us do this. Go to the event.
right.
Please don't make us do this.
Yeah.
And then you complain for a year after it, after you made us. This is what's going. I understand it's not a rule. Here's what's going to happen. We don't want this to happen. All
Yeah.
you have to do is send one person. Just go. Don't make this happen. But if you do, here's what's going to happen. You choose what happened, and then you complain about it for a year. Shut up.
Well, and
Shut
then again,
up.
then I get a message that said ban us. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, okay, it's like, here's what's going to happen. And then they're like, okay, just ban us. Okay.
Okay.
You know,
And
that's what it is. And
y-
the whole aspect of it, we're not going to go 5 hours just to go fun fishing. That's the message I got. We're not going to go 5 hours just to go fun fish. Are you
then
serious?
you shouldn't have signed up.
Yeah,
If you're not going to take every game seriously the way everybody else was and actually try to win, then you were fun fishing before the season. They won, they made it to the championship year one. It's like year two, it went down the drain and they took their toys and went home.
they were 1-4.
Yeah.
So they
What
started.
you had a choice to make.
Well,
You were
look, I
yeah,
mean, I know we're kind of bringing this out, but
yeah,
like,
I'm sorry.
even in the chat is like, I even told Jason, I'm like, you have a shot to make the playoffs. You're 1-4, but if you win out, you have a shot to make the playoffs. And
And
he told
Natural
me,
State almost did it.
and they almost did it. And
Yeah.
then, the message I got was, well, everybody doesn't see it that way. Well, how am I going to react there, Dan?
Yeah. But
You know?
I mean, part of that too, I mean, I wasn't a part of that, but there is also like you don't have a lot of leverage over the teams. The owners also have very little leverage over the players. Like
Right.
I like for cameras or you have to fish this week or you have to do this, you have to do it. There's nothing a grown man, me as an
Yeah.
owner, I can't I want my team to do stuff. I can't tell them to do stuff and make them do it.
Of course. And,
Yeah, it just
and the whole aspect of the Eagles situation was like, that team wasn't going to come on until this year.
yeah,
Right. And so they contacted me and they say, hey, man, we'll take over their record. I'm like, well, that certainly solves a lot of issues. It's like no different from the Castor situation just happened.
yeah,
Like, you gotta fix it. Like, you just can't have, you just got to do
a
whatever it
whole.
takes to
Yeah,
fix the situation. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
that's
And I
right.
was like, okay, I mean, if you guys want to start 1-4, good luck to you. If you guys want to go fish, go fish. And they had 2 days to get to Oklahoma. They did, and they won. I'm like, are you freaking serious? I'm like, what do you do? It's like, wow, you know.
Yeah,
But yeah, that whole situation was the toughest by far. And then, going back to KBBT, it's obviously banning and kicking out a couple people that I truly dear. I mean,
yeah.
that was a situation too, or a couple situations like that, man. Good
It's just so
friends
sad, man.
and stuff like that, man. It's like,
I
talking
really like what was his name?
about Marcus.
Man, I really liked Marcus too.
Yeah,
That like
he was my
that's
boy.
yeah, that's so disappointed me that he would do that. Just sucks.
Yeah, I mean, and that whole situation too was just a blown up thing. It was kind of like, I love it how when somebody does something and then it's my fault. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
somebody does something so blatant and then it turns on us like we are the bad guys. Like, we didn't do this. Like, we
yeah,
have to react and respond to it. And this is what I told you about discipline, man. No one likes to be disciplined. No one likes to have the consequences of what's done. And then it gets turned on the person who has to issue the discipline. And then we get to be the bad guys, man. I mean, it happens everywhere you see it. But at the end of the day, I come from the golf world, man. And I say this all the time. we come from a world that we have to penalize ourselves. We have to hold ourselves accountable. And I've been in this fishing world for a long time, and I've learned, the second that you start basically trying to implement rules, it's like the wild, wild west, man. It's like you become a what do you call it? A snip, or, a tattletale, or, it's just one of these, or snitch, or whatever it is. And you get, like, the whistleblower always winds up getting the consequences. And then you don't worry about the person who actually does the thing wrong,
Yeah.
And I mean, and here's another thing too, Dan. I was talking to Blake about this. At what point that are these tours are going to finally start having, to make these tough decisions, to implement the rules that they have? I mean,
Yeah.
you can't back down from what you have. Like, if it's there, you cannot back down and not discipline anglers who clearly are trying to walk past that gray line, and
Yeah.
you have to take the spirit of the rule for what it is. And if they're using that to their advantage, and basically it's called holding the field accountable. If they're trying to do something above and beyond what is the norm of the fishing tournament, then you have to discipline. If you have a guy that's cheating, DQ him for the day and not the tournament is unacceptable. He should be DQ'd from the tournament. He should have zero chance to win any big bass or any other prize. He needs to go, right?
And this has happened in every single trail, like
Yeah.
KBF, Hobie, Bass. Every single one has had shady shit going on that people don't necessarily always. I mean, we know about the board, Flexgate. Yeah, I mean, there's things that always happen in every league. All you can do is just be accountable, go by the rules, in the Bandits case, you had to make a rule because they forced you into that. You just, it is what you go by the rules, do the best you can. It is what it is, but
Right. Well, I go back to the NFL, man. Like, we talked about at the beginning of the podcast, the NFL had to make up some things as they went along on a situation that was, I mean, no one has ever died on the field like that. No one. What do you do? Right.
Yeah.
I've never had somebody just not want to show up. I mean, that's not, that's not, yeah. And here's another thing. We keep on going back to this, but I mean, Dan, what people understand is I had two other teams trying to do it early in the year. Week 2, Connecticut said that they couldn't fish against Pennsylvania because they were all going to an event with the KBF at Lake George or something like that. I can't remember what lake it was. Oh, Champlain, right? And they didn't want to have a home event on Champlain. So, they told me that, hey, man, we're not going to be able to compete. I'm like, no, you're going to compete. Like, we're not having this game. Like, we're not forfeiting games, period. We're not. And so they made it so to where they were able to reschedule the game on a Sunday directly after the event on Saturday. So both those teams had back-to-back games on Saturday and Sunday. And they made it work, right? And then I had a situation week 4 to where the Kraken were not able to go up to South Carolina over against play the Punishers. I get a call from Randy Newton. He says, I ain't got no players. I'm like, you better get some players. Like, you're not forfeiting this game. Like, you sign up for this league, you're going to go play. And I said, look, this is week 4. You've got 7 days to go find players. And I gave him some player suggestions of somebody who can get up to go up to South Carolina. Well, they were able to facilitate 3 guys to go play that game. But they, making those adjustments and making those drops, and Randy dropping himself, adding Chris Bailey in, and then 3 guys went up there, right? So I mean, like, that tried to happen. There was precedence of not allowing that to happen through that year, and we sure hell ain't going to allow it, again afterwards. You know what I mean? Because, like you said, it screws everything up. So again,
I am sad that Kraken's gone. That was my favorite logo.
Yeah, exactly. But and the other tough decisions we had to make, man, was getting down to 24 teams, right?
Yeah.
I had to tell some teams that they weren't coming back this year, and those conversations didn't go well. They didn't go well at all. And I've learned, you've got to put everything in writing. It better be in writing because people are going to misconstrue what you say. And, they take for what you say and then they turn it around and they start, basically going on a social media war about a conversation that they had, and they take what you say and they turn it around. It's in writing. I had to let them know that, they're not going to be there. And it sucked because, some of these guys are just fantastic guys and good teams and all. But at the end of the day, we had to do what's best for the league. And, we had to look at a lot of different things, logistics and, just how things were running and, getting so-called complaints from teammates and teams and just people just not understanding this whole content thing. And that's not what the KFL is about. If you want to go fishing, go fishing. There's plenty of tours out there that you can just go fishing with. But the KFL is different because we drive the content. It's a content creation company. It's what we do,
And that's what brings in the sponsors that pays for the trophy and for the,
Yeah. So anyway, between those two things, man, I aged about 10 years, but this year, I'll tell you, man, it's a world of a difference. These owners have, they get it. The new teams that are coming in, they get it. We haven't had really hardly any problems whatsoever. It's been a very smooth process. Coming up with the schedule wasn't as hard. Putting the divisions together wasn't as hard. And I think starting earlier is a great decision because now we get to see a spread out year of anglers not having to suffer through the entire summer.
Yeah, I like that too.
Yeah. And now we do have some overlaps with Hobie, but we don't have any overlaps with Bass, which is good. And we have one or two overlaps with KBF, but at the end of the day, man,
it's impossible not to.
It's impossible, right?
It would be all American. It would be locals. It would be
exactly. Exactly. And so I'm proud of these guys, man. I'm proud of the excitement. And, as I said, we've stepped up. We're going to step up our game on content wise, concentrate more on short form content and see what happens, man, so.
Cool. Well, man, we'll leave it there. It's been over an hour. I appreciate it, man. I truly wish you all the success. I hope y'all do great this year. I know you will. I know people are going to have a hell of a good time and learn and have fun with their friends fishing and get an awesome trophy at the end of the year.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, they'll have to pry this one out of my hands, but I'll give it to them.
Right on, man.
That's it. Appreciate you being on. Thanks, everybody, listening. Also, movie recommendation. The Menu on Netflix. It's a new movie. It was awesome.
Check it out.
It was like a different kind of movie you've never seen before. We just, one of those nights we just hit but let's just watch it. Like I like some of the people in this movie go. Man, it really surprised me. It's a really, really good movie. So check it out. Thanks, Greg. We'll see y'all next time.
All right, man.
Have a good night.
See ya.